Right, demonstration account created. We're now ready to rock. So, there are many places we could begin once you realize just how deep the platform is. But to keep things clear, we have to analyze the View drop-down menu extensively. This will ultimately highlight the basic building blocks of the software, being the various windows and toolbars available. So scrolling over to the View menu, the very first option we see is Language, with a whole bunch of other options. Remember when we initially installed the software? The very first choice we had was our language of choice. Well, now we can see that we have the option to change it here, but of course we'll keep it as English. Now pay close attention to all these icons that are available. Each one has a unique function and are part of the toolbar groups. There are in actual fact 4 toolbars built into the terminal. Although we prefer to keep them all amalgamated, for now let's just separate the 4 toolbars to make it a bit more obvious. And we do this by simply clicking on the left edge of each toolbar, holding down the mouse and dragging it to the desired position. Okay, let's name each toolbar by visually identifying each one. First up, we have what we call the standard toolbar, which can be confirmed by going back to the View menu and selecting Toolbar. Notice that all 4 toolbars are ticked, meaning that they're all visible. And in this case, the standard toolbar will be removed. Again, to move a toolbar is easy. Just always ensure that you click on the very left corner of each. And here we're placing the second toolbar called Charts to the focal point on the left edge of the platform. Let's also deselect this and remove it. Note, however, that when we remove the second toolbar, an additional space is automatically created to fill in the space left over from the 2 removed toolbars. Third up, we have what is called the line studies, and once again we will remove this from View. Don't stress though, these actions are not permanent and you'll see this in a second. Finally, we have the 4th toolbar, which is periodicity, which we will bring into focus and then remove. But just before we do so, in case you missed it the first time round, notice how the entire space is eliminated when the 4th and final toolbar is removed. In order to compensate for the removal of the space on the top, the system has shifted some elements higher. It's kind of a cause and effect thing. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which is typical with MetaTrader. Great. Of course, we can't really live without these 4 critical toolbars, so naturally, to get them all back, we need to instantiate each one by clicking the appropriate toolbar option in the Toolbar View menu. Having intentionally moved the toolbars around and then deleted them, note that now when we replace them, they're replaced in their original default position, all next to each other, just the way we like them. Not only can we move the toolbars around, but we have quite an extensive suite of customization options available to us for each toolbar. Let's go back to the toolbar menu and select Customize to investigate. One small side note before we do this is that the Customize function is not for every toolbar, but in actual fact only for the standard toolbar. As we advance, we will learn how to customize all the other toolbars, so don't worry. Now that we know this, let's click Customize and straight away the customizing toolbar box appears, albeit for the standard toolbar. On the left-hand side, we have a window called Available. In essence, this means the buttons are not yet actually displaying on the visible toolbar. The right-hand window is called Selected, and naturally these are all the buttons that are selected by default, of course, and are available already to us. As an observation, let's look at the first two buttons called the New Chart and the Profiles buttons. Just after them, see a thin horizontal line? Well, this is actually there for a purpose and acts as a subgroup division, which is all customizable too. Keep these three elements in mind as we pay attention to them on the actual existing standard toolbar. In terms, what is hidden is still available to us at the moment. We have print preview, print, full screen, options, and the help buttons. For the most part, there is no necessity to add these because only one of the things MetaTrader has become renowned for is shortcuts. Let's just say that MetaTrader is the shortcut king, and we'll be placing heavy emphasis on teaching you everything there is to know about shortcutting because it increases your trading productivity and workflow by, whoa, at least 300%. So, as an example of adding on the available buttons to the standard toolbar, let's select the full screen button. Before we click insert, just bear in mind that we don't recommend that you remove any of the toolbar buttons from the selected window and hide them. Each are very important and play a crucial role. Let's click on insert, which automatically places it inside the selected window. We'll evaluate why it's placed where it is in an upcoming tutorial, but for now, just note that wherever it's placed in the customizing toolbar box, it will reflect on the actual toolbar itself. Of course, its position is not cast in stone, and by clicking the down button, we can move it to the right by position. Because we have intentionally moved it to the end of the toolbar, note now that the down button is grayed out, signaling that we can't move it anymore to the right. Similarly, we could move it to the left by clicking the up button. However, we know that you're intelligent enough to figure it out, so we'll let you do the experimenting. The reset button, on the other hand, is quite useful in the sense that clicking it will bring the toolbar back to its original default position. And since we would like to go back there, let's do this. Just before we do it, however, remember that we have now added a button to the toolbar, and effectively it's increased the size of the toolbar. As we delete it, naturally it's going to leave a blank void. Just something that you should be aware of. Nice. So that's all there is really to customize in the standard toolbar. Even though at this point we don't have a cooking clue what all these buttons do, there's no need to panic, it's still early days. Continuing our analysis of the view menu, the next option is the status bar. Notice how this too is ticked, telling us that we either have a choice to show it or to hide it from view. The status bar is reflected as the lower bar on the very bottom of the platform. On the face of it, it may seem pretty insignificant, but it's ultra important. Let's see what would happen if we were to remove it. Well, nothing really, other than the fact that another space is created to fill the missing gap. It's a must-have really, so let's just instantiate it once again. The other hide show bar is the charts bar, and essentially this has a number of functions, but primarily it displays which charts are currently displayed. As a default, there are 4 charts. Currently, the highlighted chart is the Euro US dollar, and we can select another chart simply by clicking it. Okay, in this instance, the very next chart is the US dollar Swiss franc. I know you're probably wondering what H4 means. Well, it simply means 4 hourly, and this is representative of the time frame of the chart. Hiding it just creates a blank space. But just as the status bar is important, so is the charts bar, so we'll bring it back. Going back to the view menu, we now see the main windows that are now available to us. Some of these are already displayed and some are not, but this forms the discussion in the next platform demonstration video when we take a further peek into the view menu. For now, just know that there are 5 windows available to use, being Market Watch, Data Window, Navigator, Terminal, and Strategy Tester windows. Finally, in the view menu, we are presented with the option to go full screen, as well as our very first shortcut, being F11 for this function. And this is why we will focus on the full screen button as an available additional option, while discussing shortcuts and showing the necessity of not keeping it selected, hence resetting the toolbar, because it's hidden from the toolbar. In the end, we will only be using shortcuts for all the major functions on the platform. So that's it for about now. We'll look forward to resuming our discussion on the view menu, because there's way lots more where that came from.